All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ask the Editor here on First Day Hoops Report's YouTube channel. I am, of course, First Day Hoops Report founding editor Chris Stevens. Hopefully, you all are staying dry, staying safe, because yeah, it's crazy out there. I got some music playing if you don't mind. Just trying to make sure that we set a vibe here because this is what I do when I'm at home. When I'm not working, I'm chilling, but. We'll get into, the nuts and bolts of the things that you want to know about. There have been quite a few questions that were asked. First of all, I want to thank you. I want to say thank you to the 9 people that voted for this because I only put it out there. I was like, okay, so who wants to, who wants to ask us anything? Who wants us to go live? And 9 people voted yes. 1 person voted no. And I understand why that 1 person probably voted no, but majority rules. 9 versus 1. 9 yeses versus 1 no. Speaks for itself. So thank y'all for tuning in. Again, hopefully you all are staying safe out there. You're staying dry. Those of you, that are adults, I know y'all already got this stuff all figured out what you're going to do in case of an emergency and all that. Kids, listen to your parents. Don't go outside. Make sure your phones are charged because when Delmarva Power, Delmarva Power is going to do what it do. People could be without power until Friday. Those are the facts. Those of us who have lived long enough to pay electric bills and have been, under the thumb of Delmarva Power for most of our lives, we know how they work. Sorry to say. Until somebody else comes through with a new power solution, Delmarva Power is all we got. So once again, parents, I already know y'all got this covered. Kids, listen to your parents. Don't go outside. Don't be fooling around with any electronics because you never know when a lightning bolt strikes and just. Good Lord, that was terrible. But once again, thank y'all for watching. Greatly appreciate y'all tuning in. And I'm not going to take up too much of your time because I don't want to get caught in this storm either. Because if the power goes out, then what's the point? So I'm talking too much. I'll spend 2 minutes talking already. So. Couple of questions. First question that I wanted to get to. Actually, there's 2 that I wanted to get to. One person asked, and it's an important question. 2 important questions actually. How can we donate? Well, First Day Hoops Report. Every time I do a holding court, there will be a donation link in the description below. There's actually a donation link in the description of this YouTube live. It's a GoFundMe that I've had going for 3 years almost, and I want to be mindful of that and go into the next question. Again, the GoFundMe link is in the description below. If you know somebody, if you're a parent, if you know that your parents like what we're doing here and they want to kick us a couple of coins, we're not opposed to it. And the second question from the same person is, why don't you guys try to go to more games? That is something I want to address, because everybody thinks that being a news organization means that you have tons of manpower at your disposal. Everybody's like, how many people is that First Day Hoops Report? You're looking at. I am First Day Hoops Report. I'm the only person that does photography, videography. I did have my guy G Johnson doing it for the longest time, but once I realized that I could do my own. And G does an excellent job as is. This isn't any, slight towards him because he's phenomenal at what he does. If you're not following Mr. Strictly GP or Mr. Strictly GP Sports on Instagram, you're doing yourself a disservice. G does phenomenal work. We're still cool. We still talk about, things that, may not be, for the general conference, not for the general public to talk about when it comes to this whole basketball thing. But yes, to answer the question, why don't we go to more games? I'm only one person. And yes, I would love to have people helping me, but the problem is I can't pay anybody because everything I do off here is off the muscle. Honestly, like this is all from the hustle. This is all from the heart. This is for free. I would love to have support, but I don't feel comfortable asking anybody to do something for free. And people will probably say, well, you do it for free. Well, that's because I created this. I can take the brunt of the whatever money I'm losing doing this because, I still have, I have to pay, I have to put gas in my car. I have to, make sure all of my equipment is up to date. I literally just had to buy a laptop 3 weeks ago because my old laptop kicked the bucket. And that was an expense that honestly, I could not afford, but I had to have it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, I wouldn't like to go to more games because I would like to, but I still have to have a regular job that will help me be able to get to these games. And I got to give it to Ken Rashad, my publisher over at hbcusports.com, who has so graciously kept, me on as a contractor to be able to, work and report on Black college sports, which keeps, a roof over my head, food in my refrigerator, and a bunch of other stuff that I need to survive. Because, I mean, like it or not, you have to make money to live. And that's really the bottom line. You have to make money to live. So in whatever I'm doing with HBCU sports, that gives me the time and the freedom and the ability to go out to as many games as I can. But again, First Day Hoops Report is a one-man band. I write the stories, I shoot the video, I edit the video, I plan out holding court, I plan out coverage. I go to where I can get to. And I would love to be, active up and down the state. I would love to go from Claymont to Georgetown every week without, a second thought. But right now, it's just not plausible for me. And I would like to have help, but I don't feel comfortable asking anybody to do anything for free. That's just not how I'm built, because I firmly believe that if you're good at something and you put the time in and you put the work in, then you should be properly compensated for it. And I can't properly compensate him. I can't even properly compensate myself right now. Okay. So, I don't want to sit here and just, put the brunt on people that are already, doing it for the heart and from the humble, and just say, okay, do this for me because it's First Day Hoops Report. No, you should be doing it for yourself. Like, I don't, there's so many great young photographers and content creators out here that are building their own following, building their own client base. And I don't want to take that from them. Now, granted, there is something that I did want to talk about. Let me get my phone back out because there were a couple of other questions that I wanted to be able to answer that were very, very seriously super important. Where are they? Oh, yeah. Should NFHS be the main broadcast for high school basketball, or is there a better alternative? Well, NFHS, that's National Federal High School Association. So that's the one. Everybody goes, to NFHS regardless. I mean, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, the DMV, New York, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, California, Texas, Illinois, Michigan, Oklahoma, Alaska, Hawaii, any of the lower 48 and Alaska and Hawaii, all 50 states in these United States of America. Did I say America? Yeah, America. United States of America. They all, are under NFHS's umbrella. Granted, I grew up in a time when you could catch a game of the week on what used to be Channel 2, First State News. There was a gentleman by the name of Jim Hayes, who was the sportscaster back then. This is long before any of you high school kids were thought about. Like, this is probably more of my age range. Like, if you're a person that was in high school in the 90s, like I was, you already know what I'm talking about with, First State News and Jim Hayes, coming out to the games and different things of that nature. So I'm not going to, I mean, there used to be local television presence, but the way the media has changed so much now is that everything just sort of becomes, centralized online. And I'm not going to sit here and say that 302 Sports and the Delmarva Sports News folks don't do a phenomenal job, because they do. They absolutely do. But it's really going to take a concerted effort, not just in Delaware, but for other states to be able to put together local newscasts again, so that broadcasting games can be, not just an NFHS thing, because of course NFHS costs money. But then again, and I'll talk more about the media thing in a minute, because there's some other questions that I want to get to in that regard. But yeah, to answer that question, NFHS is what's going on in the country right now. And, like I said, on Delaware Live, 302 Sports, they do a good job. The Delmarva Sports Network, they do a phenomenal job. But, you got to go with, what the country's going with, unfortunately. So I hope that answers the NFHS question. Next question that comes from that same person is the transfer portal assisting or hurting high school basketball in Delaware? Well. I love this question. I've answered it a few times, but I don't mind answering again, because I get to be a history professor really, really quickly. So, why has the transfer portal? I mean, there's not an official transfer portal. I mean, there's not kids, I haven't seen any of you high school guys and gals, with the IG post, with the Kevin Durant post, my next chapter. I mean, the day we see that, I mean, that's the day we should really be worried. I'm sorry. But as far as the kids transferring to different schools for different sports, it's not just basketball either. But my stance on this has always been that the people in charge of education, the Delaware Board of Education, the different, legislatures in different cities and townships, and folks in neighborhoods, they have as much shouldering of the blame for the fall of certain sports in certain schools, period, as anyone else. In fact, it all falls on them. I mean, I want us to stop putting it on the kids, and I want to stop putting it on the parents that are trying to find the best opportunity for their kids. Because because y'all may not remember, but a couple of years ago, there was a point when we didn't know if the Christina School District was going to have sports because, a lot of people didn't want, in the neighborhoods that serve, a lot of neighborhoods that have Newark, Christiana, and Glasgow in it, didn't want to sign off on a referendum to fund not just sports, but music education and, foreign language education. So it wasn't just sports that was on the chopping block. It was a whole lot of stuff that was on the chopping block. And people didn't want to sign up for it. But then, I guess, some of them finally felt some shame about themselves and actually went ahead and approved the referendum. So, I mean, granted, I grew up in an era where Newark, Christiana, and Glasgow were probably among the 10 strongest high schools for sports in the state. You had Glasgow, you had Christiana, you had William Penn, you had Newark, you had Howard, Brandywine and Concord were dope for a very long time. Downstate, it was Cape Henlope, and it was Dover, it was Sussex Central, it was schools like that. It was Cesar Rodney. And, now, you've got the charter school movement, you've got, the faith-based, the faith serving schools, the dioceses and the parochials that are, getting more and more athletic kids in. And I'm not, throwing shade at any of those institutions because as the old saying goes, you take what the defense gives you. And right now, the defense has given them some terrible, defense. So now you can go score at will. And that's why, people are surprised when people are surprised to see, nationally talented kids that, probably wouldn't have gone to this private school or this charter or this VOTEC. Nobody cares about public schools in Delaware, man. Well, above the canal, I'll say, because Middletown is going great guns. Kent County has a great public school system. Sussex County has a nice public school system. Everything above the canal is scattershot. Everything above the canal is really just charter schools. I mean, William Penn is the last surviving public school that is, thriving in this, new era. I mean, Concord and Brandywine and Mount Pleasant are doing okay, but we've seen AI struggle to field a football team. We've seen Dickinson and McCain struggle with the same things with different sports. And granted, I think one thing I do want to say is that DIA did get right was, splintering off football into 3 divisions. I thought it was a terrible idea at the time. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I thought it was a terrible idea at the time. But I do want to give them their credit because that has allowed a lot more football teams to be able to care about the game again and be confident that they can compete. So no, I'm not saying Delaware needs to go tiered for basketball. Absolutely not. No. I think us having a single champion for boys and girls is great. It's unique. I think we're one of the last 3 or 4 states in the country that actually does it. And we don't need it because there's 56 boys basketball programs and 56 girls basketball programs. You don't need that many. You don't need 3 or 4 champions for basketball when you have 50 high schools. I mean, not everybody's going to be the best team every year. Do we want to see more competitive balance and parity across the board? Absolutely. But I think people are just really upset and offended that that private schools are starting to dominate because a friend of mine who has an important job around these parts, he asked me, who are you picking to win the boys basketball championship? And yes, people are going to get mad at me, but again, it's January 9th. We don't play the state championship for girls until March 8th. We don't play the state championship for boys until March 9th. So that means we got 2 months of basketball left. So don't get mad when I say when this person asked me who I picked, because he asked me this in November. He He was like, who are your picks to win the boys and girls? I said, Salesianum and Ursuline. And he was like, wow, no public schools? And I was like, it's not conditioned for them to compete. It's just, and granted, I don't want to, let, the coaching and the athletes off the hook, because I like the fact that these kids are, starting to get the competitive edge back. Like, I grew up in the time, yes, I'm going to sound real back in my day and get off my lawn-ish with this, but there was a time when kids used to literally want to kill each other on the court. Not like literally physically kill each other, but just, win at all costs. And I guess social media has kind of shortened the circles a little bit, because I was stunned when I got back to Delaware a few years ago, and I would see kids wishing each other good game on Instagram and Twitter. And I'm like, okay, this team just beat you. Sportsmanship is fine, but I guess it's just, take it on a different form. But yes, to answer that question about the transfer portal, let's stop blaming the kids, and let's stop blaming the parents looking for better opportunities for their kids. Let's start blaming the people that stopped caring about public schools and allowed charter schools, Votex, and privates to take over and be the dominant forces where these kids are now looking to be seen. That's my opinion on it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, let's find another question. I need to keep my phone with me. I really need to put Instagram on my laptop, but I'm too lazy to do it because, I got enough going on as is. Okay. Bruce Wayne, my guy, he asked me the greatest individual performance, boys and girls, since I started First Day Hoops Report. I can't pick one because there have been some great ones. Like, I can tell you right now off the top of my head, excuse me. Wow. Where did that cough come from? Whew. I can tell you off the rip, one of the most fun games that I've watched was the 2021 Boys Championship game. And that was Sanford and Smyrna, because Smyrna was unbeaten going into that game. And Sanford had barely beaten Tower Hill in the semifinals a couple of days before. So I thought Smyrna could get him. And sure enough, Smyrna was leading going into the fourth quarter. But Nana Njoku had one of those fourth quarters that, was why DSBA picked him as player of the year. You get a guy 6'9", 240 that demands the ball and does absolutely what he wants to do with the ball in crunch time. That matters. So that's one. Another one, it was the just before the pandemic hit, because that 2020 tournament, it was the first tournament that First Day Hoops Report was a part of. And it still kind of, bothers us that we'll never know how good those Final Fours were going to be, because for the girls' Final Four, it was Sanford, it was Kate, it was... Shucks, who else was in that girls' Final Four? Sanford, Kate, Conrad, and St. E. And in the boys' Final Four, it was Appo, St. Andrews, Sanford, and I can't remember who else. Somebody will probably remind me after this live, and I'll be kicking myself. But we'll never know how good that 2020 Final Four was. But before that, second round game of Salesianum, it was Padua girls versus Polytech. And I went to that game because I was driving a temperamental Honda CRV at the time. I went to the game that was closest to the house just in case I had some problems. And, I needed, somebody to, come get me and, take me back to the crib or whatever. But Michelle Kazicki from Padua she scored the easiest 42 points I've ever seen somebody score in my life. And it wasn't like Polytech wasn't trying. Like, it wasn't like, they were just like, giving her free passes to the basket. Like, Michelle was facing up. Michelle was driving. Michelle was posting up. Michelle was getting buckets in transition. It was like she didn't break a sweat. It was like, gee whiz. Like, it was like, no wonder she's got a scholarship to LaSalle. Of course, she's at St. Westchester now and still playing very well. This is something I want to make a quick point about. Not everybody's Division I, and that's okay. You can get money at Division II. You can get money at NAIA. You can get money at Division III. You can get people to help you pay for your education, and you can still play the game that you love and play it well. No, you might not be on the NBA or WNBA prospects list, but you'll get a close to free education wherever you go. I just want to put that point across. There are a few other great performances. India Johnston, who's playing at Towson right now. During her senior year, Ursuline went to Caravel, and this was an Ursuline team that Coach Noonan had coached up very well. This was before, everybody knew Gigi and Taylor were coming, but they were still seventh graders. So they weren't on the roster yet, but they still had Hannah Kelly Abby was a freshman on that team, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And who else was there? I think Shamir Marshall Brothers was there too. Yeah. That Ursuline team that made it to the Final Four in 22 wasn't a bad team at all. They were ahead of schedule just because everybody knew Gigi and Taylor were coming, but they just weren't on the team yet. But India Johnston just lit them up. Like, I think Ursuline tried like 6 or 7 girls on her, and it didn't matter. India was just going to get hers no matter what. And it was like growing up, watching people, watching certain players in different, whether it be college, the NBA, high school, or what have you. You've got players that you just watch and say, they just going to get their buckets regardless. India Johnston was one of those players that was just going to get hers no matter what. It literally took her 3 quarters and part of an overtime in that 2022 championship game against Sanford to get going. But once she got going, that was it. And, she's just, one of those kids that, you just watch over, look back on and say, yeah, I was fortunate to watch her hoop because, she literally was a walking bucket. There are so many others that I can't even think of off the top of my head. Maybe I'll do that as an entire different episode, like some of the best performances that First Day Hoops Report has ever seen. Let's get back into some more of these questions. I forgot about this one. What are your thoughts about Delaware Online's rankings? Okay, I'm going to do this because, full disclosure, I freelanced for Delaware Online, aka the News Journal, from 2014 to 2022. I have nothing but great things to say about my time there. That was a fun experience for me because I wasn't in journalism full time at that point. I had done it for so long and I wanted to take a break. And I'll never forget, I was really frustrated because I was working for Gatehouse Media at the time. And of course, Gatehouse has now merged with Gannett, which of course is News Journal's parent company. So everybody like at the Dover Post, Smyrna Clayton Sun-Times, Milltown Transcript, they're all under the News Journal umbrella now. Funny how that works. When I was ready to leave Gatehouse, Andre Smith, who everybody knows, of course, Andre, works at UD now, still does photography for Caravel and anyone else that's smart enough to hire him. And Dre was still working for the News Journal at the time. He was like, you don't need to be out of this. You need to be working. You need to be stringing with us. If you want to do something else, cool, but you still need to be working. And for someone of Dre's magnitude to show that kind of confidence and faith in me as a journalist, I will never have anything bad to say about the News Journal because the News Journal helped keep my lights on. As far as the rankings go, and this is something that I want to touch on across the board because I don't have a problem with kids taking umbrage with the rankings because y'all are kids. Y'all are competitive. Y'all want to see yourselves up there. I get it. My issue is with grown adults, firing shots at trained journalists. People that are either AAU or, if you're an AAU coach, if you're a parent, if you're a fan, you got way too much stake in it, honestly. Like I said, the kids and the players, I don't mind y'all being, upset about the rankings because it gives y'all motivation. But for the parents and the people just sitting in the stands, I need y'all to act like adults. And this is probably the only time I'm going to address it in this manner because I don't want to come off as an angry dude. I don't want to come off as a jerk, but I do want to come off as somebody who's very protective about my professional reputation. Like there was somebody on Instagram Saturday. I was covering a Dover Sanford a doubleheader like a journalist does, and I got an Instagram comment from somebody who is an AAU coach talking about you need to delete this and start over because people aren't going to think you're a credible source. I've been doing this for 22 years, buddy. So who are you to call, who say who's credible and who's not? You're not the one. So as I told you on Sunday, and I'm going to tell you again on Tuesday, January 9th, 2022, you, sir, need to stay in your lane. And that's the only time I'm going to say it. Okay, now as far as my feelings about the News Journal rankings, we have 2 different sets of eyes. 4 actually, because Brad Myers is over there and Brandon Holovec, who I imagine I'm going to run into at some point during basketball season. Of course, Kevin Trezzolini still does it. He does a great job, over there. Trez has been with the News Journal as long as I've been alive. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, and I'm not going to do that to Trez either. But Trez has been around a long time, and he does a phenomenal job and will continue to do one as long as he wants to, as far as I'm concerned. But, everybody has, different sites, different things, how they see teams, how they see players, how they see opponents, and all of that. So what my top 10 looks like is not going to look like what the News Journal's top 10 looks like. That's just not how it works. We have the same top 10, then we're doing something wrong. I mean, up to a point. I'll say that we can agree right now that Ursuline and St. Elizabeth are the top girls and boys teams in the state, and it's not even close. And Salesianum, they've had a tough schedule. I imagine they'll be back up in the hunt at some point. Right now, it's St. E's for the boys, Ursuline for the girls, and we are all in agreement on that. But as far as, the general, that's my opinion about the rankings. I don't want anybody feeling like, we are slighting their teams purposely, because that's not, if we were doing this for popularity contests, we shouldn't be journalists. We shouldn't be doing this job. So that's, my take on the News Journal rankings. Let's go into some more questions. Would someone averaging 25 points a game be a girls player of the year? That's a tricky question, because it really matters, who you're playing and who you're getting your points against. And granted, 25 is 25. I've seen some kids, I've seen some kids that were scorers struggle against big time opponents. And then I've seen kids who weren't called upon to score have some big games against big opponents. So, basketball is basketball. The object of the game has always been to put the ball in the basket. That's not going to change. But, it really depends, because there are so many different things that different players do well. Like, I can tell you right now, and I'll get into another question that's related to that, because Bruce asked me, a question about that, and I'll get into that in a second. But as far as, what it takes to make All-State and all of that, I don't want to, this is like the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices at KFC, and this is also like the secret sauce for the Big Mac at McDonald's. No, I'm not hungry, but it's just the best reference that I can use at the time. I ate already. I had spaghetti with pepperoni. I make if you don't make spaghetti with pepperoni in it, you should try it. It's really good. As far as like, what it takes to make All-State, there's no real, book step by step, book by book thing you have to do. Like for someone else asked, how do we select All-State? Well, for one, it's a multi-layered process. For one, the Delaware Sports Writers and Broadcasters Association, we all, those of us who are members, paying members, shouts out to our great boss, Mr. Chuck Durrani, who does so well with, pulling us together on the Friday after the season and treating us to a great lunch every time. Can't wait for that lunch, Chuck. Can't wait for what you're going to bring for us this year. The SBA has a vote, and also important to note that coaches are encouraged. In fact, and sometimes we even beg sometimes coaches. Some coaches don't like to fill out, forms. Everybody's like, when people ask me what happened to the previews for this year, I sent 5 or 6 emails out to coaches, about the questionnaires. Some didn't return it. Some returned them. Some didn't. So that's the way the game works. And we ask coaches to fill out, an All-State bracket, because they have, they've seen players play. They know who's good. They feel like who's played well and who's not. And there are some coaches that don't even fill out, all conference. So we know they ain't going to fill out an All-State bracket. So, it's like we can only do what, what is presented with us. And those of us who are, members of the SBA, we go to as many games as we can. I know Brad Myers does. I know Mike Lang and Jason Winchell over at 302. They go to as many games as they can. Andy Walter at DSN. He goes to, it used to be the Delaware State News. I think it's the Bay News now. Andy Walter. He goes to as many games as he can. Who else? Downstate reporters. They go to games. Folks like Brandon Bosser and all those folks, that do a great job downstate. They all go to games. So we go to as many games as we can. We take stock of who we seen. We fill out a ballot, and we meet. We have a nice lunch. Once again, shouts out to Chuck for a nice lunch every year. And we look at the ballots that we filled out. We look at the ballots the coaches filled out. And Chuck is the one who counts all of this stuff. Chuck is a math genius, and that's why we're able to put together a really good list and be able to have a real good All-State team. So that's how we select All-State. It's not a popularity contest. It's not, who can, talk to us the most about, their favorite player. We still have to go see the games, y'all. We still have to go see the games for, our own 2 eyes, but in my case, 4 eyes. I don't wear glasses whenever I stream because I'm nearsighted. And if I put my glasses on, my head is going to hurt. So if you see me out in public, you know I wear glasses because I can't see worth a darn. But as far as just being on this stream, I'm just not gonna, wear glasses. It's pointless because it's just too close. So yeah, that's how I answered a couple of questions with that, honestly. Okay, let's see what else we got. Hopefully the music in the background isn't distracting. I really want to dance because I'm really having a good time with this. Where else? Oh, we just got a new question coming in. Who you got for Friday's game, McCain Glasgow? That's going to be a good one, honestly. I'm actually looking forward to going to seeing McCain and Glasgow play on Friday. Hopefully we don't have any more monsoons or snowstorms or anything like that. But yeah, I haven't seen either one of these teams, so it's going to be hard for me to pick. But I know Glasgow beat Howard, and Howard hadn't lost a Flight B game in 3 years. So that counts for something. McCain is 8-1, as I talked about on Sunday. They won 2 games in 2022-23. They've won 8 already in 2023-24. To me, that means they're a much improved team. So very much looking forward to seeing that game. I can't pick a winner as of yet, but I'm very much looking forward to talking about that game once I've been and gone. Okay, who else? Who else has a question for a brother? Oh yeah, Bruce's question. Where is it? I just saw it. This is what happens when you scroll past things too fast on your phone. Boys and girls, top 4 player of the year candidates. Oh man. Whew. This is going to be an interesting conversation that is probably going to blow up social media because I'm probably going to post it on Instagram as well. For the girls, off the rip, you got to put Gigi up there. I mean, Gigi right now is the most dominant force in the girls' game right now. Like, you can pick other players that are very good, but right now, Gigi affects the game like no ninth grader I've ever seen. And I've seen some good ninth graders in my time. But Gigi is one of those ones. Like, literally, like, there's nothing she can't do. I mean, for one, I've said about her and Taylor before. They defend like, any like no other young players I've seen. Like, they really get in your chest from baseline to baseline. And a lot of kids with that level of talent, they can afford to slack on some things, but they don't. And Gigi just does not slack on anything. Like, if she, when she has her shot going, you can't guard her from the outside. She's already got the handles. I mean, if you want to come up on her, she can get past you really quick and probably have you picking yourself up off the floor as well. And if you come over on her, then she has that unique ability to spot somebody out of the corner of her eye, whether it's Jasmine Wesley or Skylar Bolden under the basket for 2 points. And so that would be my number one, my clubhouse leader for girls player of the year, that Gigi. Who else can I put on that list? Top. Okay, so there's Gigi. There's I think it's going to be hard to pick a girl from Caravel because there's so many talented girls. Like, we talk about Ursuline being a dream team. Caravel's girls is a dream team. I mean, you've got Josiah Crawford, who scored her 1,000th point this year. You got Speedy Wilson. You got Cherish Bryant. You got Anaya Price, Bryson Strickland, Jordan Tate. I mean, they're going to split votes for all state as is. Picking one girl from that team for player of the year is just going to be hard because they don't have a lead. They don't have an alpha player right now. I mean, they're all alphas. I mean, they all can, take over a game whenever they choose. So I don't know if I can put a Caravel girl up there. I will say that a couple of public school players that people probably aren't giving enough light to, probably because their teams are kind of like, under the radar right now. I'd say Kyler Reed at Appo and Reagan Robinson down at Woodbridge. Reagan is one of those girls that you literally have to guard from the parking lot. Like, I've seen her make shots from every logo that every game I've covered a Reagan Robinson game, and she's hit at least 1 3-pointer from the logo. I'm talking about at the Bob. I'm talking about at Caravel. I'm talking about at St. Elizabeth. It's just like, she's one of those players that, you can't, just, stand out here and say, okay, I'm gonna put a hand up and just dare you to shoot. She's just going to shoot and make it. Kyla, meanwhile, is one of the fastest kids with the ball I've ever seen. There's a select field of point guards on the girls' side that are quick with the ball, and they rarely make poor decisions. There's Kyla, there's Cherish Bryant and Tatnall. No, she's not at Tatnall. She's at Caravel. You just said she was at Caravel. So there's the quickest guards with the ball on the girls' side that I've seen this year. There's Kyla at Appo, Gigi, of course, Taylor Brown, and Cherish Bryant. And, okay, so there's 3 right there. Who else? Oh, Erica Huggins. Oh my God, how can I forget Sticks? People are really mad that she scored 44 against First State or 46 against First State Military Academy. Let me tell y'all something real quick. You can only do what someone allows you to do. And I'm not, saying that, it wasn't a total mismatch, because I mean, it's been a total mismatch with certain schools all year long. But Sticks is one of those players that, you have to like regardless. I mean, yes, and from what Uncle Throwdad said, she sat 2 quarters. So it wasn't like she was just in every quarter, just, getting shots up. It was like they just couldn't do anything with her. First quarter, she had 30 points. Sat out the second quarter, sat out part of the third and part of the fourth. Still scored another 16. What can you do? But yeah, I think Gigi and Sticks are the top 2. I think Kyla and Reagan, should deserve some attention as much as Josiah, Speedy, Anaya, and Cherish go. Like I said, they're going to split votes. So I named 7 players. So yeah, 7 girls players. Boys players, obviously, I think the leader for Boys Player of the Year, without any shadow of a doubt, is Aiden Tobiasen right now. Like, he literally is the best player on the best team. And, Julius Wright, somebody asked me also on Instagram, what do you think of Julius Wright's, prospects? I like his game as well. Like, he's going to be one of those kids that's going to be like, if he keeps playing, he's going to, we're going to have to start thinking about him for first team All-State at some point, because, I'm not going to call this kid Robin by any stretch of the imagination, but just, for argument's sake, you need a Robin to a Batman. And right now, Aiden Tobiasen is Batman, and Julius Wright is definitely a worthy Robin. Like, he can, he can score from the outside. He can drive to the basket. He can set up their offense as well. They don't need him as a point guard because they have Stevie and they have Kyan. But, if JT needs to play point, he can play point as well. So, but yeah, Aiden Tobiasen is my pick right now for Boys Player of the Year. Who else? Who else can I put in that conversation? Because there's a lot of good players this year. Let's see. Y'all got to give me some time because I'm old and I've seen a lot of basketball this year, because I'm still trying to figure out, who I've seen this year, who I would put on that list. Let's see. I think, yeah. Again, the Matthews brothers, you got Avion, you got Zion, all those kids down in Middletown, you have to, they're going to split some votes. Let's see who else. Justin Hines, I feel like, is if I were to pick a Sally's kid right now for POY consideration, it would be Justin Hines, because Justin Hines does a little bit of everything. Not saying Kareem Thomas doesn't, not saying Isaiah Henson doesn't, but Justin Hines, it's funny because his older brother Ethan was like that. I called Ethan Hines when he was playing an Army Swiss knife, a Swiss Army knife. If you're not familiar, a Swiss Army knife has a bunch of different functions, and maybe that's what Ethan and Justin's parents have done, just giving them, instilled in them a ability to do a little bit of everything. And Justin Hines does a little bit of everything. He defends the post. He defends the perimeter. He can shoot from the outside. He's a walking highlight reel. If you don't, box out, he will put a putback dunk on you, So yeah, let's see. I've got Aiden. I've got Justin. Who else can I put in that conversation? Oh, yeah, Darrell Little Jr., Denham Perkins, those 2 at Dover, you probably have to consider them as well. I want to see Darius Miller from Lake Forest. I got to see Lake Forest at some point this year. That is part of my mission. Is to see way more downstate teams. I've been very fortunate to be able to see, the 3 downstate teams of consequence last year in the state tournament. I saw Cape already this year. I've seen Smyrna. I've seen Woodbridge. I've seen a couple of other schools, down that way. And, but it's just going to be my mission to try and get it to as many games as I can. But yeah, for boys, Aiden, Justin, Darius Miller, pick a Middletown kid, just pick one. Darrell, Denham, there's a lot of great kids playing this year, and picking all state is going to be extremely tough because there are a lot of kids playing very well right now. And we only have there's 30 spots. There's 5 first team, 5 second team, 5 third team, and 15 honorable mention. That's boys and girls. So out of over 1,000 basketball players, we have to pick the best 60. And it's not easy. And it's not, again, going back to what I was saying before, we don't want people to feel like, it's a popularity contest. We're leaving players out on purpose. That's not what we're doing. We only can go to so many games and see so many kids. But, that's why we ask the coaches, coaches. I mean, I'm talking straight to y'all now. We're adults here. We carry responsibility. We preach responsibility to our young people. Let's preach responsibility to ourselves. If you are a coach and you have a bracket in front of you, fill it out. That's all we ask. We're not asking you to reinvent the wheel. We're not asking you for the winning Powerball numbers. If you do have the winning Powerball numbers, you can feel free to email me, chrisstevenswrites@gmail.com. But we're just asking you all to, just help us help y'all. We want your kids to get the proper recognition. That's the goal of this whole thing. So let's not make this any more difficult than it already is. So yeah, I hope that answers the question about, player of the year, all-state and all of that. Wow, this is really going on for 45 minutes. I'm very happy it's going on for 45 minutes. I'm also very happy to announce that my power is still on. So once this is done, it looks like it's going to be easy sailing, just uploading this onto the YouTube channel. What else? Who else asked the question? Someone asked the question. Why do we sing when we lift our hands to Jesus? Hallelujah! What do we really mean? I'm sorry. I tend to break out in song a lot. It's just what I do. Oh, another question. What can be done to ensure that the ticket sales for the Final Four at UD are evenly distributed? That is a question that is above my pay grade. I can't answer that, with a legit answer because I don't know how that process works. I don't. The most I can do is when a Final Four team says tickets are on sale, I just repost it so everyone else can see that the tickets are on sale. But my guess is it's probably going to take a concerted effort from the powers that be at UD, DIAA, the Final Four schools, the basketball committee, because the Bob is a generously seated facility. 5,000 people can fit in that bad boy. And it probably is going to be replaced now that UD is moving up to Conference USA. I can guarantee you within the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a Bob replacement coming. If you don't believe me, you can come back and say, Chris, you lied. And then I'll cut the University of Delaware logo into my scalp, which is funny because I'm wearing a Delaware State University shirt because I'm a proud Delaware State University alum. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a Bob replacement coming in the next 5 or 10 years that'll probably seat like 7,500, 8,000, 9,000, probably 10,000 maybe. But yeah, the Bob is a generously, oh wow, there goes my Wi-Fi. Okay, so yeah, I guess, it would just take a concerted effort among, the folks that run the Bob, DIAA, and the Final Four schools and the basketball committee to evenly distribute tickets because I don't even know how the process works. Maybe somebody will tell me. What else? What other questions do we have? I think that's about it. There are a couple. Oh, someone asked why Brandywine isn't ranked. Brandywine is 5-2. I get it, but I really, I've seen them play. They're not a bad team, but there's some other teams that are really good that are just ahead of them right now, and that's the best answer I can give, to that person. What else? Let's see. Oh, someone asked a question in the chat. Mr. Pelican, appreciate everything you do for the Delaware Hoops community. Have you heard about St. Mark's this season? I have not had a chance to see St. Mark's yet, but I will. That's another team. Again, let me remind y'all, I am one person. If I had a clone, I don't think there needs to be 2 Chris Stevens walking around because there's already, I'm enough as is. So you don't need 2 Chris Stevenses walking around. But I wish I did have a clone so I could, see as many teams as possible. Yeah, St. Mark's is on my list of teams that I want to see. Who else? Yeah, I think there's a couple more questions before I wrap this up. Yeah, this one person just asked like 5 questions back to back. Why do y'all do that? I think next time I'm just gonna say, yo, 1 question per person. because a lot of I got like 15 questions and they're like from 3 or 4 people. It's hard to, be able to, answer questions, when the same people ask questions because you want to get different points of view. So what else? Where else are we? Why is Sainty's number 1 with Sally's plays more comp? Sainty's just beat the team that plays more comp. And granted, Sally's is going to be there at the end. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this isn't anybody saying that Slazy Annam is, out of the running because, as I said on Sunday, to quote the legendary Ric Flair, to be the man, woo, you got to beat the man. And right now, Slazy Annam, until further notice, is still the man. They're still going to hit you with the elbow drop, the thumb to the eye. They still got that figure 4 leg lock working for him. So, it isn't like, Slazy Annam won't be heard from again this season. I mean, that's the farthest thing from anybody's mind. But, right now, St. Elizabeth's is the hottest team. I mean, they've got a player of the year candidate. They've got an all-state candidate. They've got some other great talented young players, Kenny Hunter Jr., Steven Nixon Jr., Kyan Alexander, Tobias Reese. That's a really good team. And they're deserving of being number 1. So I have them number 1. The News Journal has them number 1. And I'm not saying we know best. I'm not saying, we are the only authority, but we're the, for what we've seen for our organizations, we feel like they're the best. So that's how that works. What are my thoughts on William Penn making it to the bottom? I still like William Penn's chances. I do. Gary Lumpkin, people of a certain age may not remember, but that William Penn team that featured him, Tail Davis, Lenny Brown, Rasan Matthews Sr., that team was an all-star team. And, they won the state championship in 94. They lost on probably the greatest shot in the history of Delaware basketball in 95, courtesy of Alex Carlson and St. Mark's. But, Coach Lumpkin, he knows what this is about. And he's going to coach him up. I mean, Jalen Horsey already committed to William U. He's a shooter. He's a scorer. Emmanuel Vonham, he's probably one of my favorite players I've watched since I've started this whole First Day Hoops Report thing because, he's generously listed at 6'3". I mean, if people want to give him 6'3", I'll give him 6'3". I don't think he's 6'3", but I mean, if you want to give him 6'3", okay, he's 6'3". But whatever his height is, that young man plays with heart. That young man plays with intensity. That young man plays with aggression. You're not gonna win against him. You may beat him at certain aspects of the game, but you're just not going to totally dominate Emmanuel Vonham. You're just not. He's a talented player. I hope that people don't, college recruiters and scouts don't miss the boat on him because, so many times people overlook a kid because, he's out of position. He may not be tall enough for this. He may not be tall, but he can still help your team. Like, he's a kid that I feel like if William U took a chance on, if Goldie Beacom took a chance on, if Lincoln up the road took a chance on him, he's a kid that could help a team, So I still think William Penn is a Final Four contender. Absolutely. If I had to pick a Final Four right now, yeah, William Penn, Final Four right now for the boys. William Penn, Slazy Annam, St. Elizabeth, Dover. That's it. That's it for the boys. Easy. That was easy. Girls Final Four, probably easier. Ursuline, Caravel, St. Elizabeth, and Sanford. And yes, Sanford, I drew the ire of a few Sanford folks. Coach Thompson, shout out to Coach Marcus Thompson. He was joking with me on Saturday, but, I was looking around like academics when the Migos was ready to fight at BT Awards. I was like, oh, man, whew, this is awkward. But, Coach Thompson was good about it, and so were the kids. But, yeah. That Sanford team is no joke either. I mean, yeah, they lost Dallas Pearson, Zai Kilgo, but Jada Snow, I think she's the next Supreme. I think, her and Gigi, I probably had Jada the player of the year on consideration, honestly, especially this year and the next because she's only a junior. Tyler Edwards, a D1 player. She's a kid that can, she's another one of those kids that's extremely fast with the ball. And the younger players like Marcus Thompson has a lot of 8th, 9th, 10th graders that are just starting to, see some high school ball like Gabby Royal, Asia Adams, Adriana Chambers. I said her name is Ariana on the YouTube recap on Saturday, and I want to apologize for that. Her name is Adriana Chambers. I apologize. So yeah, Coach Thompson has some talent. It's just extremely young. But that Sanford team is only going to get better as the season progresses. So yeah, the girls' Final Four: St. Elizabeth, Sanford, Ursuline, and Caravel. It doesn't stand to reason that, you know, a public school team or another team. I mean, I still like St. Mark's a lot. You know, St. Mark's is still a team that could jump up and surprise some people. So that is, you know, what I wanted to, you know, talk about. I didn't expect this to go nearly an hour, but that's all the questions actually. I'll reach out to you in a minute, Brahim. Brahim Wilson asked a question that I don't feel comfortable answering on stream because it's more of a business nature. But I'll reach out to you in a second. But ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for watching this edition of Ask the Editor with First Day Hoops Report founding editor Chris Stevens. I greatly appreciate y'all's time as always. Wow, this song that's on stream right now. Oh my God, I really should have put it on shuffle. But if you can hear it, I'm sorry. If you can't, good. So thank y'all for watching. All the information to contact will be in the description below. Greatly appreciate y'all's time as always. Hopefully it doesn't rain or snow again this week so we can get some basketball coverage in. So we will see you in the gyms this week. And yes, I'm still going to do a holding court episode on Sunday. So it'll still be a traditional holding court on Sunday. So thank y'all for watching. Until the next time we speak, y'all take care of yourselves and each other.